This is my life. This is my passion. This is Ike's Outdoors. Hey guys, Ike here from IkesOutdoors.com. Today I'm down here in my basement. You have to forgive my surroundings, but it's cold outside, and the project that I'm doing today, you need to be inside someplace warm, and you don't want to do this in your living room. Trust me. What I'm doing is I've got a bunch of old shot up targets, and I'm going to be using a product called 3D Target Repair Foam to fix these targets. So we're going to put up some pictures here as we go along, because I've done this in various stages, and I'll tell you right up front, if you're not the kind of guy who can change your own oil, you're probably not going to want to try this at home. This is going to require some tools. We'll put a link up to the list of tools that you'll need, and you'll see the tools as we go along here. And it's going to require some common sense and some ability to work with your hands to do this. We'll put up a picture of this here. This is a mountain goat, and when we started this, the first thing we did was I took a piece of plastic, laid over the top of this, and drew out with a marker, we drew out the kill area. So I've got that, and later on I'll take a soldering iron and I'll draw this kill area back in here. Second thing we did was we took a knife, and Sawzall knife, fillet knife worked pretty good. My wife's kitchen knife worked pretty good. She's going to be kind of upset about that, but bread knife worked pretty good. A little saw like this worked pretty good. A little sheetrock saw worked pretty good. But you're going to take all that foam that's shot up and you're going to get it out of there. And once I got through this first initial layer, the inside was just really flaky, and I was able to cut it, and then really from there I just took my knife and cut and pulled and got all that stuff out of there. So now I've got my hole here, and I'm going to take some plastic. I'm going to take some 6mm plastic, and I'm going to staple right over the top of this. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I've cut a piece of plastic here that's a little bit bigger than the hole. Basically, it's going to cover the entire thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a regular staple gun, and I've got some 1/2-inch staples in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to staple it along the outside. But I'm going to go right along the outside here. And I'm just going to staple the plastic down basically. Now that I've got that stapled down pretty tight, go ahead and put one down here. I'm going to go right here around my hole, and I'm going to put my staples real close together, about 1/8 inch apart. And you'll see why once you start pouring this. And I'm going back a little bit away from the edge to get into some good foam. Okay, you can see there I've got a nice perimeter of staples, not too close together, but got a nice perimeter there of staples. And then around my hole, I went all the way around it, and you can see my staples are pretty much touching. Now if you've got a big pour to do, like say one that's all the way through, take some strips of cardboard, and you can back this, because this chemical, this foam is going to expand, and if it expands too much, it'll pop all these staples out, and you'll get it all out here. Or if it's on the bottom side, if you're doing one all the way through, it'll start popping all these out and go everywhere, which is, I've got a target over here that did exactly that thing. Now if it does that, just let it go, let it set up, don't worry too much about it, and then when you're done, you can cut it off, and keep the excess, and you can actually take this excess and you can shove it right in there inside the hole and use that as filler later on. So this chemical is pretty sensitive to weather, which is why we're doing it out here. You don't want to let it freeze. You don't want to do this when it's too cold. You need your targets to be dry and warm. That's why I've kept them down in this basement. They've been down here for several weeks now, getting dried out, getting warm. So it's very important. You can find all this information on the website with the instructions that come with this. But It's very important that these are dry and these are warm, and that you do this at room temperature, 70 degrees or up, and you're going to get a lot better pour and a lot better progress, or a lot better results if you do it that way. So I'm going to take my knife, and right here in this center, I'm going to make me a little hole. And this hole is going to be for two purposes. One, I'm going to pour in it, if I don't cut my finger off. I'm going to pour into it, and two, when this foam expands, if it expands and I get too much, instead of trying to force its way out the plastic, it'll come right out of this hole. So that's our basic setup. Like I said, if you do have a big pour, you want to put some cardboard across here to reinforce that. Some duct tape you can wrap around it, but whatever you can do to reinforce it, because it will come spilling out of there when it expands. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix this stuff up, and we're going to get ready to pour this target right here. Alright, to do this part, you're going to need a few different things. You're going to need, of course, your chemicals. You have a part A and a part B. We have part A and part B here. You're going to need some latex gloves, some safety glasses. You know, take your precautions when you're dealing with chemicals. Don't eat this stuff. Don't let your kids around it, your dogs, anything like that. This is not the kind of stuff you want to get inside of you. Part B has a pigment in it, and that's what's going to make this stuff brown. And you're going to take part B and you're going to mix it up really good and get those pigments really shook up in there. Okay, you're also going to need a high-speed drill, which I've got here, and you're going to need a mixer. This is going to come in really handy with this. I've ordered this one. This one came with it, and you can see I've got all kinds of stuff stuck to it. But this one came with my kit, and you can order this right off the website. And you're just going to need a nice high-speed drill. So we'll put that there. And then I've got a bucket here, and I've tried several different things. I've tried acetone, I've tried paint thinner, and this is a stuff called brush wash, and it actually works really, really well to get this stuff off. So you can use whatever you got, acetone, paint thinner, whatever, but this stuff here, I bought it for $4 at Walmart. It's called paint wash, and when I get done mixing this stuff up, I'm going to dump my tools in this paint wash to keep that stuff from setting up on there. Okay, so like I said, we can need a gram scale. Got my scale here. I'm going to set that to grams. Okay, so we'll put our milk jug on here. This is a clean, dry milk jug, and we've got our milk jug on there and got it zeroed out. So when you go to mix these up, how you're going to mix this up is you're going to take part B and you got part A. Part B is the way to mix this is part B and part A. If you use part B, say you use 100 grams of part B, you'll take your 100 and you'll multiply it by 1.43. So if you use 100 grams of part B, you'll use the total amount that you'll need will be 143 grams. So you'll put part B in there until your gram scale reads 100, and then you'll put part A in there until your gram scale reads 143. And if you use larger numbers, the same way. You use 500, you'll take that times 1.43 and get your number, and you'll use 500 grams of this, and then you'll add part A until you get the number that you're wanting to do. A good rule of thumb is to use about 1/4 of the size of the hole that you're pouring, because if you put too little in there, you can go back and pour on top of it. If you put too much in there, it's going to expand. It's going to tear all your staples out, and then you're going to have to go back and cut it. And I can tell you what, this stuff is a bear to cut, because I have messed up a target or two, and this stuff is pretty tough to cut. So for mine over here, I think I'm going to try about 200 grams of part B, and I'm going to add about, that'll make me 86 in here. So I'll put 200 of this and 86 of this. When I'm done, I'll have 286 grams of chemicals in here. I went a little bit over because 200 didn't seem like enough, so I went ahead and went to 250. And now I'm going to break out my calculator because I can't do that in my head. And I'm going to take, let's see, 259 times 1.43 equals 370.37. So I'm going to add part A until this gets to about 370. I'm going to get my cell phone out of here because you do not want to get this stuff on your cell phone. And definitely wear old clothes when you do this, because you do not want to get this stuff on anything that's good. It's going to stay there. Okay, so now part two. I'm going to turn this because I couldn't really see it the first time I was pouring. This is where, if this stuff here doesn't have part A in it, it's not going to harden up. So part A, and it's going to be tough for me to make this transition and get the camera on this. So I'm going to do my best here. So we're going to put part A until we get to 370. There we go. I'm on 370. Perfect. This is where your drill is going to come into play. I'm going to take my drill, and for about 20 seconds, I'm going to mix this stuff up. Okay, so it's been about 20 seconds. I'll spin that off in there. And then this is going to go immediately into my cleaning solution. Okay, so with this stuff set up, I've got my hole poured in here. And with my milk jug, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to pour it right in there. To get the rest of this stuff out of here, I'm just going to take a paint mixer. I'm going to use that paint mixer to get all that stuff out of there. And I may not have made enough, but not making enough is better than getting too much and getting it, having it swell out too much. Now this is going to expand, so we'll put that aside. And the thing about it is, once you pour it, leave it alone. If you press on it, you're going to compress all that foam in, and that foam's actually going to stick to itself, and it's going to form a nice hard block. So when you pour this stuff, leave it alone. You can touch it, you know, and feel it, and you feel it, it'll get warm as it comes up. But you can see that you'll see it start working, and when it starts working, just leave it alone. Okay, it's starting to expand now. I don't really want to touch the camera because I got this stuff on my gloves. But you can watch it, and once it starts, it'll start expanding up. And I may not have enough in there, but like I said, that's okay. I'd rather not have enough than have too much. Because you can always go back and pour over the top of it again. And this will give you a good idea. You know, I ended up with 370 grams of this stuff, and you'll see how much 370 grams is going to cover. This stuff's still expanding, and you can see it's down here on the bottom. And I can touch it, and it's starting to get warm. You can see down here, it's expanding and it's coming up. You can see there, I'm going to go ahead and touch it, but you can see there, all this right here is now filling up with foam. And you can put your hand on it, you can feel it, and it's pretty warm. That's that chemical reaction taking place. And it's stopped expanding, and I've come awful close to getting enough, but not quite enough. I've still got a little bit to pour around the outside edges here. So I'm going to wait about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to re-pour over the top of this stuff. Okay, so while our goat is setting up, I've got another target here, and you can see that it's set up, and it's done exactly like I talked about. It actually came up and expanded, and we had a little bit here where it came out of our pour, and it busted the staples down here and poured out that way a little bit, but no big deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this excess off flat, or as flat as I can get it, and then I'm going to take a palm sander, and I'm actually going to sand it all out, and then I'm going to take some paint, and I'm just going to paint this whole thing. And now you could also take and put you some plastic on here, and probably go ahead and put a thin layer on, you know, to cover all these holes up. But I'm not really too concerned with that area up here because I don't really think it's too really shot out. But this foam, when it's done right, you're going to get a sample with this stuff when you get it. But when it's done right, it's not going to be overly hard. It's not going to be overly soft. It's going to have a good soft cushion part to it. And you can see it's a nice kind of a malleable foam. And all this excess I'm going to put right down there in my bucket, and I'm going to keep it for fill. I've got an antelope over here that's shot plumb in half, and I'm going to use all this stuff for fill on it and save me a little bit of chemicals when I go to pour that one. Again, a Sawzall probably would work better here, but this is what I've got. So, I'm going to set it up just like that. I'm actually going to start cutting and just try to take it slow and not get too far down in there. You know, I'll let my sander do a little bit of the work. But this is good foam. It's pretty tough to cut by hand. Definitely Sawzall is definitely a good investment here. If you've got one, if you can borrow one, definitely suggest the Sawzall. Okay, so I've got everything cut away here with a knife, and now I'm going to take just a palm sander, and I've got a 80 grit disc on there, and I'm just going to sand this out and feather this whole surface out. Okay, so you can see now that I've got this done, I went back with a soldering iron and I've drew my lines in here. I drew my 8 ring off the pattern that we cut with the plastic, drew my 10 ring, drew my 12 ring. Now I didn't get this as nice and smooth as the rest of this, but I just didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. And of course you can see I need to paint the back side to match and the front to match, but just use a flat latex paint, just a brown flat latex, and paint it over top of it. And that was pretty much it. So it took a little bit of time and it took a little bit of effort to do this, but this target's now healed up. I've saved a ton of money because I don't have to go out and buy a brand new core. We fixed 4 or 5 targets with this and still got plenty of stuff left over. And the cost of a case of this versus buying 5 or 6 new cores is going to be a lot cheaper. So it's going to save you a lot of money in that aspect. And it's pretty, like I said, if you can change your oil and you can follow basic instructions, it's pretty easy to do. So that's pretty much your step-by-step directions on how to do this. And for more information, you can check this product out at 3dtrf.com, which we'll put down here in the description below the video. But not real hard, not real complicated, just take some time to do. And in the end, you're going to have a nice target that you can shoot for a long time. For more information, more product reviews, more how-to videos, you can be sure to check out our website, ikesoutdoors.com. Appreciate you watching.